Let's look at 3 NBA players who are on the trading block that I think may be worth having a play on. What's going on, guys? Matt here, back again with another video. Teams are figuring out whether their team has the right personnel to contend for the playoffs, and soon we're going to see some trades by contending teams to potentially find out that last piece to complete their team. With trades comes a potential boost in card prices before play even occurs, and we've seen that recently with a player with like Malik Monk being signed by the Lakers in the offseason, his price is multiplying before he even played a game. Now, if any of these players do get traded, I would immediately sell after the news rather than wait to see them play a game. Of course, there's a lot of rumor involved in this, and some of the trades I do throw up are my opinion of where I'd like to see them, but let me know in the comments any players that you think can solve the missing piece to a potential championship team. The first player we're going to run through today is Jeremy Grant from the Detroit Pistons. Now, if we look at the team structure of this Detroit team, there's one player who sticks out like a sore thumb, and that's Jeremy Grant. He's currently 27 years old, and although that's not that old, it's significantly higher than the rest of the Pistons core, with Cade Cunningham and Isaiah Stewart, who are 20 years old, and Sadiq Bey, who's 22 years old. You even have another wing player in the mold of Jeremy Grant in Hamidou Diallo, who has been benefiting from his absence recently. Now, Grant has been very solid in his 2 seasons with Detroit, averaging over 20 points a game in each season, but I'm not sure if you'd want him as your number 1 option on a championship team. I think Grant is better slated to being that second or probably more third option where he isn't forced to shoot that many shots. The Denver Nuggets really do miss Jeremy, where they had him playing off the bench as a defender first, but thanks to the team needs currently at Detroit, he's developed his offensive game much more. In his first season at Detroit, he averaged 22.3 points a game and came second in the Most Improved Player award, which came after a huge contract signing from Detroit, which was heavily criticized at the time. Another thing that's going for Grant is that he has a relatively team-friendly contract compared to some other players who are being thrown around in trade talks like your Ben Simmons and Damian Lillard, meaning that most teams will be able to afford him. News is going around that Grant is available in trade talks, and contenders each week are calling about his availability, so I think it's only a matter of time before a trade happens. The Pistons' new GM, Troy Weaver, is incredibly smart, and in his time as GM so far has made some great moves, including drafting Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey, and Saben Lee in a draft that was classed as weak. Weaver was also able to sign Jeremy Grant to a team-friendly contract that again was heavily criticized at the time, and draft the number 1 pick in Cade Cunningham this season. I don't think Weaver will be in a rush to trade Grant and will hold out until the trade deadline to get the best possible deal for the Pistons. One potential trade partner I really like is the Atlanta Hawks, who have gone from being the most promising young team in the league to being outside of the playoff picture. The Hawks have too many offensive threats in my opinion, and Trae Young is too much of a negative at the moment on the defensive side that I feel like they need more defense to complement him, like the Warriors designed their team around Steph Curry, who is quite similar. Their best and most promising defensive player in my opinion is DeAndre Hunter, but he just can't seem to stay on the park at the moment. My trade proposal is that they get rid of Cam Reddish, who they play off the bench, along with Danilo Gallinari and some first-round picks for Grant and Trey Lyles. This balances out their team much more defensively, and once Hunter returns, I think it gives them a lot of versatility. I recently got a Silver Prism rookie card PSA 9 of Jeremy on the PWCC platform for $40 Aussie, which is under recent comps, but look at his rookie cards and see what is available. Moving on to the next potential traded player, and that's Myles Turner from the Indiana Pacers. I've only recently started to appreciate how good Myles Turner is in the current climate of the NBA because he offers 2 unique things as a big man through his 3-point shooting and his consistent interior defense. I feel like the Pacers as a team have a bunch of above average players in Turner, Malcolm Brogdon, Karis LeVert, and Domantas Sabonis, and I think it's not enough to get him over the hump. The latter in Sabonis has been thrown around in trade talks with Turner, and I believe the Pacers won't trade both players but only one of them, which I do think will be Turner. My reason being is that the Pacers drafted him and they know what they're getting out of him compared to Sabonis, who has been there less and been a 2-time All-Star in that period. Turner has been the league leader for blocks for 2 seasons and is currently leading this season, and offensively he doesn't contribute massively but enough to be a 3rd or 4th option, having an average in the low teens. He potentially could have a bigger offensive role as he has the lowest usage rate out of the Pacers starters, meaning he doesn't get the ball as much. I think there are a range of teams that could use a big man who can stretch it and hit the occasional 3 like Myles Turner, and one team I really like is the Golden State Warriors. Look, as if the Warriors need any more help, but the Warriors' biggest weakness right now is the center position, with Kevon Looney currently starting and James Wiseman out injured with a torn meniscus. I think Looney is more slated in a backup role, and a Wiseman and Kuminga trade for Turner would work for both teams, which I saw being suggested in the Bill Simmons podcast. As the Warriors, you're essentially trading away your future, but if it gives you 1 to 2 championships in the next few years, you aren't going to be crying in 4 to 5 years' time if your team is back at the bottom. The Pacers would benefit by getting a young player to build around in Wiseman and a high potential player in Kuminga to essentially speed up their rebuild. His greatest stuff has a low population, mostly thanks to people not sending him in comparison to other players in his draft class like Devin Booker and Karl Anthony Towns. On to the last player and a personal favourite of mine in Eric Gordon from the Houston Rockets. You might look at me and say, what are you thinking, especially with Gordon being 33 years old, but I think he can easily be the final piece to to a championship team, and deservedly so. He's a good two-way player who has shown he can go on a run and average 20 points a game if needed. As a Houston fan, I wouldn't want to lose Gordon, mainly because of what he can offer off the court, which is contribute to the team culture and development of the younger players. His name has been thrown around in trade rumors for the past few years, but the Rockets have been quite stern in what they want for him. It's obvious that the Rockets won't be making the playoffs, and at the expense of losing leadership, may look at trading Gordon for younger talent or future picks. I can see Gordon being a third option as a starter, or even being that reliable scorer off the bench as he was in 2017, where he won the Sixth Man of the Year. This season, he's averaging a career high 45% from the three-point line, which I do think is unsustainable, but this will appeal to other teams who probably need a flexible guard who can score and defend well. I think the Denver Nuggets could use Eric Gordon with the injuries to Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. to provide some help for Nikola Jokic. Although it'd be hard to do a trade with Denver just due to their contracts, but a trade centered around Gordon for JaMychal Green, Monty Morris, and Zeke Nnaji and picks might work. A trade with a contender for a bad contract and picks will probably be more likely. Like, for example, you've got Toronto who have Goran Dragic, who they barely play and has a similar contract. I recently bought Gordon's Topps Chrome Rookie Refractor for $4 US on ComC from the iconic year of 2008, and I think it's worth a small play at that price if he does get traded. I personally can't see the Rockets holding on to Gordon and his contract long term, and think he'll be traded in the next season or two. That's it for today's video. A bit of a unique look into some alternative players I'm looking at. I hope you are all doing well and enjoying the hobby at the moment. I appreciate it as always. Make sure you do smash the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you all in future videos. Take care.